So my first math concept is subitizing. Um, an early memory of me doing subitizing was playing Monopoly during our family board game night, and it wasn't necessarily how I learned subitizing, but like rolling the dice, I knew that I would get certain numbers, especially for 12. For 12, I knew that I had to get two sixes, so that's how I learned subitizing. Um, Another example of a math concept called relationship between addition and subtraction is the five little ducks. So in my class, they would watch the video Five Little Ducks Went Out One Day. And there was one little boy, his name is Milan, and he would say, so when all the little ducks went over the hill, he would say, "There's no more little ducks. There's five over the hill," and he would register that like if there isn't five with Mama Duck, there is five over the hill, and that's what that made me think of. And another example is for one-to-one tagging. One day during circle time, the children were, uh, or well, this my cooperating teacher was had a bucket full of pumpkins, and the children had to guess how many pumpkins they were. But afterwards, she dumped out the bucket, and in the buck or and they had to count them, so she counted them one by one in a line, and there's a total of 31 pumpkins, but she counted one by one by one. And then and for the need for organization and keeping track, it made me think of organizing my closet and drawers. That's why I put in quotes organizing my closet and drawers, because when I was like 9, I started organizing my closet by shirts, like shirts, long sleeve shirts, pants, and sweaters and dresses. I still do it today, but when it comes to like my shirts, because I have a range of shirts like graphic tees, I have uh, like work tees or button down t-shirts. So I also organize those as well. And in my drawers, I mainly just keep like pajamas or pajama tees and undergarments. So need for organization and keeping track makes me think of how I organize my closet, or how I started to organize my closet. One-to-one correspondence. When I was a child, my parents would go to yard sales, and one day they bought me a bag of softballs. And in the bag, there was six total softballs, and I would count them one by one every single time, because not just for softball practice, but just to know how many I had. So as I gathered the balls, I would count one, two, three, four, five, six. So I knew every single time that I would have six softballs. And then magnitude. Magnitude makes me think of one of one of the times that we were we were all sitting at the lunch table at my site, and at my site there was this one little boy who picked up the jar of fruit. It's a jar full of like plastic fruit, of course. And I asked him, "How many do you think that is in here?" And he was like, 15. And then I asked another little boy sitting at the table, "How many do you think that's in here?" He said, "I know there's a lot. There's many." And then I asked a little girl sitting at the end of the table, "How many do you think there's in here?" "So many." And then I asked another little girl, "How many do you think is in here?" She said 10. But the answers of like so many or there's a lot, there's many, made me think of magnitude. Hierarchical inclusion is one of the examples I gave was, does Dana have more M&Ms than Danielle? When I was a child, my mom would buy us M&Ms, but we'd had to share. So we would grab these M&Ms by handfuls. It was usually like the share size M&Ms, and we'd grab them by handfuls or like pour handfuls in, or pour M&Ms in our hand by the handful, and we didn't necessarily count them until we till it came down to the bottom part. So me and my sister Danielle, we would always see who had um, more M&Ms, especially because it was the bottom. So we wanted to make sure that we had an even amount, even though we probably had eaten like an uneven amount, but we wanted to make sure it was quote unquote fair. Um, Cardinality makes me think of, at my site, a little girl who was playing with the Magnetiles. She was playing with the Magnetiles and she was trying to create a unicorn house. And so she told me she needed 10 shapes, but she had 5 squares in front of her already, and she said she needed triangles as well. So we so she had the 5 squares, and I asked her, "How many do you need left of shapes?" And she was like, she looked at her hands, and she was like, "Okay, so I had 5 squares." And she was like, it was a little bit of subitizing too, and she knew that she needed 5 more triangles. So cardinality makes me think of uh, that that experience with one of the children, Medea, um, about her about how many shapes she needed to build. And that's all. Thank you.